Welcome, everybody. I'm Annie Moyer. This is Sun and Moon Yoga's YouTube channel. It is Thursday, February 18th or so. What do the days mean anymore? Um, Today is an icy, cold, pretty dismal day here in the DC metro area, and I was thinking this morning about how I grew up. My parents both grew up in New England. And so I was raised to believe that you can drive in any weather. And I was taught how to drive in the snow, and I was taught to drive in a standard car with a stick shift. So, you got to put it in higher gear in order to get the wheels not to spin and to get some traction on the ground. And I have benefited from those lessons immensely. And I've never been afraid to drive in snow. Ice, all bets are off, right? You can't get traction on a sheet of ice. You can't even really walk on a sheet of ice, much less drive on a sheet of ice. And so on a morning like this, I think about the question, how do we get traction? And what does it mean to get traction? So it means to be able to grab a hold, right? To grab a hold of something so that we can propel ourselves forward. And when there's nothing to grab onto, that's a hard proposition to tackle. And when I apply these questions to a yoga practice of posture, of asana, and of breath, my sense is that getting traction means staying as close to the ground as possible and making slow and deliberate movements to create the energy and the conditions in the body that feel motivating, that feel like things are possible. And then when we become accustomed to that feeling of even just the smallest bit of motivation and possibility, then maybe we can apply it to other areas of our lives and see how we can get traction that way. Maybe getting traction means that you're in bed, curled up in the morning, and whether or not you have things to do, it's really hard to get up and get motivated. And so getting traction in bed, finding a way to sink into the softness and then to just gently rise up out of it with that soft energy intact and with a little bit of a flame of motivation inside to take that one step to the floor and then the next step to the floor and do what we need to do for the day. So let's come to sit on the mat if you're not already. Hello, my friend. Hello, my friend. And a little cushion, excuse me, a little cushion under your seat is a nice idea. And excuse me, you're in the way. Little cushion under the seat just to give a slight lift. I tried to hide the ball from him under the pillow and he's not having it. Okay, there you go. Take it to your pillow. And just a few breaths, just a few sweeping breaths. Inhale, reaching up, and then exhale, softening down. That's all. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, soften down. Good boy. Inhale, reach up, and exhale, soften down. Good. And now if you can feel the seat of your torso rooting down, And then just rock from one side to the next. And each time you feel the sitting bone on the one side rooting down, then there's your traction. And you can push into it and emphasize that contact, that little downward grab to help motion you to the other side. And that's it. Just a slow and steady rock from left to right. You can put your arms and your hands anywhere you like. Fingers on the floor can give you some extra traction. Hands on the knees. You can press down with the heel of a palm into one inner knee and go side to side like that. Just gently finding your way from one sitting bone to the other, from one side to the next side. One side to the next. And now, before we do an add-on to this, as you're going side to side, you can bring awareness to the points that are forward and back. So there's left sitting bone, there's right sitting bone, and then there's pubic bone on the front, and you can lean toward that, and tailbone in the back, and you can lean into that. So now you can make the movements going front to back with traction on those other two corners. If you're watching this live, I hope that you're somewhere in your home where you can hear the pitter patter of the frozen rain outside, and consider it not a threat, but a sweet sound of nature. And now around and around, to one side, to the front corner, to the other side, to the back corner. And it might begin to feel like circles. And it might begin to feel like traction, like a simple, intentional movement in the body that's connected to the ground in a safe way is all that's required in any given moment to make the next move. And that's all we ever have to do, is to make that one next move, take that one next step. And now you can reverse the directions of your circles if you haven't already. So even though you're focused on these four corners, these 4 points, as if you're going in a straight line from one to the other, it feels circular. At least it does for me, which is a nice, inviting sensation. Nature moves in swirls. The blood is spun out from the heart in spiraling movements. So this is a very natural way to move in the body. All right. And now find yourself at center and bring your knees together, feet in front. And hug the knees in, make the spine nice and tall. And make a little swiveling action with your feet to one side and your knees to the other side. And then take the top leg, swing it backwards, turn and bow down over the forward bent knee. And then come back up and swivel to the other side. And just slowly, slowly rocking from side to side. course, there's the breath, which you can sync with the movement. And then perhaps there's an opportunity to deepen the fold and go a little lower over that one side knee. And as you do that, perhaps you're called to straighten the back leg a little further behind you. Maybe you like the movements to be small and the knees to be really bent and the fold to be really modest. Getting traction to the movement can help us make those choices, to help us have those awarenesses, because we're focusing in on what has inspired the movement. And then when we get to that next step, that next destination along the way of many, many destinations in a row, then we're really there because we paid attention to how we got there. So just a few more times, deciding how deep you want to fold, how straight you want the back leg to be. And after your next side, come back upright. And I'm going to take the pillow a little further back behind me and sit nice and tall, knees together, feet on the ground. And then come to the tiptoes. You're pointing the toes, walk them back, balance a little bit, and then feet to the floor again. So we're just gently, gently rocking the boat. Gently, gently rocking the boat. And the next time the boat lands, docks, I don't know my boat language. The next time your feet are on the floor, can you slide them out and take a little fold? And then slide them back in, take a little balance. These are tiny, tiny little boat poses. So we're not doing big abdominal core work right now, although if you want to, you can. And if that is where traction might be gained, by all means, do that. So sliding in and sliding out with the heels. Knees come in bent and legs go out straight. Just a few more times like that. And then the next time you're in the fold, stay there for a moment, take some breaths, make sure you've got lots of lift in your lower back, lots of length here in the lumbar spine. So there's no compression or strain here. And so you're in this fold, roll back, rounding the spine, drag the feet in as if you're going into that little boat, but roll onto your back. Lay your head down and then extend your legs up into the air. And then come back up like you went down. You can grab the backs of your thighs for traction and fold. So we'll go back and forth like that, rolling back, lifting up, sliding the heels in, and then lie down and kick up the legs. And At each point of movement along the way, you'll decide, where am I going to get the best traction to help me move into the next shape? And remembering that the breath is always your friend, the steady companion as you move from one shape to the next. And last one, next time you're in the fold, come up, right? And from the folded position, bend one knee, hug it with the opposite arm. Inhale your free arm up, exhale, twist. I like to have the straight leg with a flexed foot, so the toes are pointing up to the ceiling. Now we're going to turn this twist into another version of the knee down and the leg behind. So I'm rolling over and folding down. And then I'm coming back up into the seated twist, and then dropping the knee and rolling over, coming back down. Right? Just back and forth. And at each point along the way, there's some part of my body that's pressing into the ground that's allowing me to gain some traction, to help me shift to the next place. Okay. And then back up to the bent knee twist. Inhale the back arm up, bring it down, hug the knee, and then switch legs. I'm going to spin around so I can still face you. You don't have to spin. So now you're hugging a new knee in, bent. Inhale your free arm up, bring it down behind you. Take a breath here. You can squeeze the heel in as close to the sitting bone as it wants to go. And then drop the knee, spin around, fold over it, bow down. I'm very sorry for this distraction. Come back up, bring the knee, spin around. And a few more times. And then the next time you come up, you're in the bent leg twist. Inhale, reach the free arm, the back arm up, bring it down facing your bent knee, hugging it in, and then extend the leg out. So now the traction is going to come into the feet, and the movement will get a little bit bigger with the hips. So I'm removing my socks so I can get traction on the mat with my feet. Hands behind, fingers forward or back. For me, fingers forward gives me a little more traction to spin my shoulders and upper arms back. Feet on the floor, pressing into the palms, pressing into the feet. Slide the hips forward and lift them any amount up toward the ceiling. And then slide them right back down. Slide the hips back. Sit tall. Slide the hips forward. Rise up. Slide the hips down. Sit tall. Back and forth. up and down. There may be a point at which you want to slide your feet a little further in front of you and get the legs a little straighter, or all the way straight and point the toes forward as you rise up. Any amount of lift, any amount of bend in the legs is valid. Any amount of traction is useful. And one more, wherever you are. And then come down and pause to sit tall. And then bend the legs, sitting in a simple cross-legged position with your ankles flexed, toes active. The outer edges of your feet are slicing into the ground. So there's traction there in your seat, even though you're not standing on your feet, but they're working into the ground to help you rise up. On an exhale, take a tiny little bow forward. And then on an inhale, sit tall again. On an exhale, bow forward. Inhale, sit tall. Exhale, bow down. This time, inhale, sit tall. When you fold forward this time, take one arm, reach it out in front of you, put the palm on the ground. Take the other arm and backstroke it up. So there's a twist in your fold. Be gentle on your lower back. So we're not asking much of it, except we're asking a lot of it. And by that I mean a folded twist can be a little torquey in the lumbar area of the spine. So even though the movement doesn't look like much in the back, be gentle. Get the traction in your seat and with your forward palm on the floor. And if reaching the floor doesn't feel like a good idea, if it doesn't feel reachable, a block under the hand or some sort of stack or lift is a great idea. So I'm doing it now with a block under my hand, and it feels really available and open. And that's the goal, to create as set the conditions for as much traction as possible. And then one more time on each side. And then release and sit up tall. And then spin around onto your back. I'm going to make this blanket fold a little smaller. I'm folding it in half. I'm going to put it across the middle of the mat so that it's under my pelvis. It's not necessary to have a blanket there. For me, in this moment, it's about the warmth, really. So lying back of the head on the ground, feet on the ground, nice and steady and solid, tractioning into the mat. Arms by your side. We'll come in and out gently in a flowing bridge movement. So starting with just the arms, inhale, they reach back. Exhale, they come down. Do that a few times while you rev up the engine of your legs and feet, pressing into the ground to get a little traction, to get the lower body in gear. And then the next time you rise up with the arms, you're adding the hips, the belly, and the heart on that upward movement. And then we're flowing in and out, going back and forth. Sometimes in the car, you have to rock back and forth a little bit in order for the wheels to get purchased on the slippery snow or ice underneath. So we're rocking back and forth, up and down. And of course, breathing in and out. And I'm not going very high. There's no need. Just as high as it makes sense for you today. That's all we need. So 1 or 2 or 5 more times, as many times as you like. Up and down, in and out with the breath. And then releasing back to the floor when you're ready. Pause for a moment. Separate your feet and rock your knees from side to side. And then the next time the knees pass up through center, pause there and pull the knees into the chest, curl up into a little ball, and find your way up to sit. And bring your palms together in front of your heart. And just sit here for a few quiet breaths to feel the sensations in the body after having gotten some traction to provide some steady movement and ease. And watch as the breath takes center stage after the movement comes to cease. The steady hum of your heart and lungs, your inner engines, reaffirming their ability to keep you moving through each day. And I hope you are able to take in the sounds around you in your space, and I hope they are peaceful and affirming. Steadily returning awareness to the breath. May you find peace, and may you find joy, and may you find inspiration, and may you gain traction in this day, wherever you are and however you are. I thank you so much for joining us. Be well, everybody. Take good care.